Get ready, because this is a big one. Today, we're bringing you the most amazing facts about every single country on Earth. So, using the UN count of 195 countries, here we go. Afghanistan. Afghanistan has changed its flag more than any other country in the world, over 25 times since its independence in 1919. This is a reflection of the unfortunate lack of political stability that has plagued Afghanistan for over 100 years, not to mention King Amanullah's tendency to introduce new flag designs every time he saw a foreign one he liked during his reign. Albania. In 1967, Albania was declared the world's first atheist state by its communist dictator Enver Hoxha. The country's population was a mix of Christians and Muslims at the time, but Hoxha ordered the military to seize churches and mosques and destroy them or convert them to other uses, like movie theaters. Hoxha died in 1985. Today, Albania is a religiously tolerant state. Algeria. Iced coffee was invented in Algeria. That's right, one of the most popular beverages in the world started here on the borders of the Sahara in 1840. The French soldiers who invented it called it massacran. It was a sweet coffee they quickly cooled down with ice so they could stay alert but also refreshed in the sweltering North African climate. Andorra. Only half of Andorran residents are Andorran nationals. The other half is made of Spanish, French, and Portuguese people. Spanish people make up 24.8% of the country's population. So what's the national language given this mix, you may ask? Well, Catalan, obviously. Angola. Angola has an important shortage of men. After decades of civil war, the proportion of men to women in the country aged 15 to 64 in 2023 was 0.93. This means that even though they're against the law, polygamous arrangements have become socially acceptable throughout the country. Antigua and Barbuda. The Caribbean nations of Antigua and Barbuda has a beach for every day of the year. It's known as the land of 365 beaches, which is a lot of beaches for a country of almost 93,800 people in 170 square miles, or 440 square kilometers. One of the most famous strips of land is 17-mile, or 27-kilometer, pink sand beach in Barbuda, formed by crushed shells and coral. Argentina. Most people know Argentina for its steaks, its soccer stars, or as the home of the tango. But Argentina has another special distinction most people wouldn't guess. It has the highest number of psychologists per capita in the world, with 222 therapists per 100,000 inhabitants. Going to therapy is very normalized in the country. Armenia. Kids are supposed to learn reading, writing, and chess? That's the case in Armenia, at least. Since the 2011-2012 school year, chess has become a mandatory subject in public schools. As you might imagine, Armenia has an impressive chess history, with the Tigran Petrosian Chess House in Yerevan hosting many international tournaments and over 24 active Armenian grandmasters. Australia. One of the strangest wars in the world was fought in Australia, a war against birds, specifically the Emu War of 1932. Emus are huge, standing at the human height of 5.7 feet or 1.7 meters, and by the early 20th century, their population was growing, damaging crops across Australia. So the military stepped in. They targeted emus with machine guns, but realized it took up to 10 bullets to kill a single bird. This dampened enthusiasm for the war, and it ended pretty quickly. One soldier even said, "The emus have proved that they're not so stupid as they're usually considered to be." Austria. The cultured home of Viennese coffee culture, classical music, opera houses, and energy drinks? Though you might not associate Red Bull and its sponsorship of daredevil stunts with the setting for The Sound of Music, it's true. Red Bull was launched in Austria on April 1st, 1987, and to this day, the international headquarters are in Fushëllëmse. Azerbaijan. In Azerbaijan, you'll find a city fully built on stilts. 60 miles or 97 kilometers off the coast of the country's capital, Baku, lies Neft-Dağları. It was originally built as a collection of oil wells on the Caspian Sea. Over time, the wells were connected by bridges, then worker housing was built, then shops, medical facilities, a bakery, and a theater, all on stilts, all in the middle of the sea. The Bahamas. Most countries put famous leaders on their currency, but the Bahamas does things a little differently. If you look at the back of the $1 note, you'll see a marching band. It's the band of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and it's, unsurprisingly, the only marching band to be featured on money anywhere. It's meant to represent the importance of music in Bahamian culture. Bahrain. The largest underwater park in the world is in the Middle Eastern country of Bahrain, fittingly known as Dive Bahrain. It spreads over 25 acres or 101,000 square meters of ocean floor and includes both natural and artificial attractions, like the Bahrain Pearl Bank Artificial Reef. It's an incredible spot for divers from around the world. Bangladesh. Some countries have 4 seasons, while others just experience a dry or wet season. But Bangladesh has them all at once. It experiences 6 separate seasons. Winter is from December to February, spring is February to March, summer is March to May, monsoon season is June to September, autumn is October to November, and cool is November to January. Barbados. Most people know that rum came from the Caribbean, but fewer know that it was first produced in Barbados. Europeans tried to cultivate cotton and tobacco here first, which didn't go so well due to the tropical weather. Then they realized sugarcane was a much better option. The first rum made from sugarcane was known as Kill Devil and was just meant for locals to get drunk on. But eventually, the alcohol was refined to the point where it gave birth to a booming rum industry. Belarus. There's much more to Belarus than its current and forever government. For starters, Belarus is known as the lungs of Europe. 40% of the country is covered in forests, and in addition, mires and marshes in Belarus remove 900,000 tons, or 816 million kilograms of carbon dioxide annually from the atmosphere, and release 630,000 tons, or 571 million kilograms, of oxygen instead. Belarus single-handedly battling climate change. Belgium. Depending on how nerdy you are, Belgium is known as either the headquarters of the EU or a great country for beer drinkers. But this small European country has an outsized influence on another area, comic books. The internationally famous Smurfs were created by Belgian artist Peyo. Popular European series include Lucky Luke, Tintin, and Asterix were also created by Belgians. Belize. Belize's tallest structure was built over 1,000 years ago, but you won't find any skyscrapers here. The biggest man-made building is a Mayan palace called Cana in the archaeological site of Caracol, reaching 141 feet or 43 meters in height. Benin. Though voodoo is most commonly associated with Haiti or New Orleans, it first became popular in Benin, or the Kingdom of Dahomey as it was then called, as Vodun. However, it started over 6,000 years before that in the area. Though many people in Benin are Christian today, voodoo practices are still common in the country. Bhutan. High up in the Himalayas lies the Kingdom of Bhutan, best known for being the only country to use a Gross National Happiness (GNH) index. In addition to trying to improve finances and living conditions for their population, the government of Bhutan uses this measurement to improve happiness and well-being. Plurinational State of Bolivia. Bolivia is home to the most dangerous road in the world, appropriately nicknamed Death Road. Its real name is Yungas Road, and it connects La Paz to the Amazon. In the past, 200 to 300 people died on it every year. Alternative routes exist now, but thrill seekers still travel Yungas Road to experience driving on a less than 10-foot or 3-meter wide road beside cliff drops of over 2,000 feet or 610 meters, in an area prone to landslides and fog. Most of them make it back. Bosnia and Herzegovina. Elections are annoying enough when you're voting for one leader, but can you imagine having to vote for 3? Enter Bosnia and Herzegovina. The country is divided between the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Republika Srpska, established after a civil war in 1992 to 1995. The accords that ended the conflict stated that the Federation will elect one Croat and one Bosniak president, while Republika Srpska will elect a Serb president. All 3 will rule at the same time and rotate chairmanship every 8 months during their 4-year term. Botswana. Botswana is home to the Okavango Delta, the largest inland delta in the world and home to an incredible array of wildlife, including the African elephant. In fact, Botswana is home to about 130,000 African elephants, making it the country with the most elephants in the world. Brazil. Strangely, for a country with one of the biggest populations on Earth, Brazil also has the most uncontacted tribes of any country. FUNAI, the Brazilian Department for Indigenous Affairs, estimates over 100 uncontacted tribes live deep in the Amazon rainforest. Though many tribes had contact in the past, that often resulted in them getting murdered or enslaved by loggers or the rubber industry. A justified reason for staying no contact with Brazilian society today. Brunei. In the capital of Brunei, Bandar Seri Begawan, you'll find the largest palace in the world, the Sultan's home. It's called Istana Nurul Iman and has a total space of 2.15 million square feet, or over 200,000 square meters. With nearly 1,800 rooms, it includes a mosque for 1,500 people, a garage for 110 cars, 5 swimming pools, 257 bathrooms, and a banquet hall that can seat 5,000. Bulgaria. The oldest gold treasure in the world was found outside the Bulgarian city of Varna in 1972. The uncovered necropolis of Varna has 294 graves, with over 3,000 gold artifacts dating from between 4600 and 4200 BC. They're regarded as the first gold objects created by humans. Burkina Faso. Between the 16th and 19th centuries, one of the most fascinating civilizations in Africa ruled in Burkina Faso, the Mossi Kingdoms. They were famous for resisting Arabs and European slave raids and refusing to participate in the trade of enslaved people all the way up to French infiltration into their kingdom and colonization in the 1800s. Burundi. Beer is a popular beverage throughout the world, but Burundi puts its own twist on it. They make it from bananas. The beer is made from banana juice, sugar, honey, and citric acid. While it may sound delicious, it's caused a bit of a problem, as banana beer is 3 times less expensive than other beers. It only costs 30 cents for 1.7 fluid ounces or 50 milliliters and has 40% ABV, more like vodka than beer. This has caused problems from overdrinking to increased levels of diabetes in Burundi. Cambodia. People in Cambodia celebrate New Year's for 3 straight days in the middle of April. The celebration is called, and this is my best shot at it, Hol Khanam Tamaye in the local Khmer language, and takes place at the end of harvest season. It allows everyone, but especially farmers, a much-deserved break, as it's a 3-day public holiday. Cameroon. This sub-Saharan nation is nicknamed Africa in miniature because Cameroon covers all 5 climate zones within its borders, from deserts in the north to rainforests in the south, and savanna, coastal, and mountain zones in between. There are also over 270 spoken languages in the country. Canada. The massive country of Canada is home to pristine lakes, jaw-dropping mountain ranges, beautiful forests, and the polar bear capital of the world. Way up in Manitoba is the city of Churchill, through which about 1,000 polar bears migrate between July and November. Take a train or plane to Churchill. There are no paved roads going to the town, and see if you can spot one, though preferably from a distance. Cabo Verde. Cabo Verde is the country most recently inhabited by humans. No one set foot there until 1456, when the Portuguese landed on the archipelago off the coast of West Africa. This made it the first European overseas colony, founding Cidade da Ribeira Grande in 1461. Today, the population has a mix of European and African ancestry. Central African Republic. Often called the CAR, the Central African Republic is home to several pygmy groups, most prominently the Aka. The average adult height only reaches up to 4 foot 11 inches, or 1.5 meters. The scientists believe the short stature of the pygmy groups is an evolutionary trait that suits them to their forest environment, and a byproduct of their early reproductive maturity. Chad. Chad has the unfortunate distinction of being the country with the lowest average lifespan in the world. The average adult in Chad lives to 53 years old, compared to the international average of 72 years old. A combination of poverty, hunger, a high disease burden of malaria, diarrheal diseases, and severe respiratory infections combined with poor medical care caused this low lifespan. Chile. The Atacama Desert is the driest non-polar desert on Earth, and it makes Chile the astronomical capital of the world. Astronomers from around the world head to San Pedro de Atacama to enjoy over 300 clear nights a year, away from light pollution, with some of the largest telescopes on the planet. Their names? Very Large Telescope and Extremely Large Telescope. Seriously. China. You might be surprised to learn that a massive country like China only has one time zone. Even though it should span about 5, every place in China is aligned to Beijing time in the east, GMT plus 8. That makes life in the West confusing, as sunrise may not occur till after 10 a.m., and businesses keep strange operating hours. To further confuse visitors, many people in Western China refer to both local time and Beijing time. Good luck figuring that out. Colombia. Kids in Colombia better be able to handle their coffee, because many of them are going to be drinking it from elementary school onwards. While most parents in the West would faint at the idea of giving their kids more energy, a fair amount of Colombian parents give their kids café con leche, a sweet coffee with lots of milk. Comoros. This archipelago in the Indian Ocean is known as the Perfume Isles because of its very aromatic plant life. For one, it produces 80% of the world's ylang-ylang flowers, the smell of which you may recognize as the basis of Chanel's famous No. 5 perfume. Costa Rica. Known for its lush rainforests and beautiful beaches, Costa Rica is also one of the most eco-friendly countries in the world. It now generates 99% of its electricity from renewable sources, including hydroelectric power and geothermal. Costa Rica is also the first tropical nation to reverse deforestation, from 40% coverage in 1987 to 57% today. Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire is the biggest producer and exporter of cocoa, the basis of chocolate. Its peak year of production, 2021, saw 2.25 million tons, or over 2 billion kilograms of cocoa produced in the country. Unfortunately, it's also one of the leading causes of deforestation in the country, with 90% of the loss of tropical rainforests in the last decades due to converting rainforests to cocoa plantations. Croatia. Smiljan, Croatia is the birthplace of Serbian-American Nikola Tesla, internet darling and one of the world's greatest inventors. Though Thomas Edison is often credited with inventing the modern application of electricity, Tesla was actually the one that developed the AC power system, in addition to 100 other US patents. Cuba. Perhaps necessary for a country known for rum and cigars, Cuba has the highest doctor-to-patient ratio in the world, ahead of Monaco, Sweden, and Belgium. The country has 9 doctors for every 1,000 citizens, a result of Fidel Castro's extensive investment in healthcare to make it free and universal. In comparison, the US has 2.6 doctors per 1,000 people. Cyprus. Cyprus is perhaps best known for its complex politics, but here's another fun fact you might not be aware of. The island nation has more cats than people. It's estimated that Cyprus has 1.5 million cats, many of them stray, with a human population of just 1.2 million people. The Czech Republic, or Czechia. If you think you like beer, you have nothing on the average Czech person. The Czech Republic consumed a record of 48.6 gallons or 184 liters of beer per capita in 2021, with amounts ranging from 32 to 42 gallons per person in other years. Compare that to Germany, the home of Oktoberfest, where the average German drank 23 gallons or 88 liters per capita in 2023. Democratic Republic of the Congo. It literally takes months to drive across the DRC. While it is a big country, the long driving time is mostly due to the impossible road conditions, especially once you leave major Congolese cities. Though there are over 36,200 miles or over 58,000 kilometers of national roads, only 5% of the roads are paved. Decades of civil conflict have also destroyed parts of the minimal paved roads. Denmark. Ever wonder why there's a massive Legoland in Denmark? Well, it's because Lego started here in 1934. Ole Kirk Christensen was hammering away at this workshop in Billund when, one day in 1932, he decided to start making wooden toys. The toys took off, and in 1934, he created the Lego Company. Parents' feet have not known a moment of peace since. Djibouti. Djibouti is one of the saltiest countries on Earth, and that's not a metaphor. It's home to Lake Assal, located at 509 feet or 155 meters below sea level and 10 times saltier than the sea. Djibouti is also home to Lac Abe, a massive salt lake that contains a plateau with hundreds of towering limestone chimneys. Dominica. This tiny Caribbean island nation of 66,500 people is the only country in the world that sperm whales choose as a year-round home. There are over 200 sperm whales off the island's shores, making whale watching a very popular activity for locals and tourists here. Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic's flag has something unique on it: a Bible. It's the only country in the world to feature it, along with a cross and the flag itself on the flag's central coat of arms. Christianity clearly played an important part in the country's founding and history, as the motto is Dios, Patria, Libertad, or God, Fatherland, and Liberty. Ecuador. Perhaps it's no surprise that Ecuador, home of the famous Galapagos Islands, was the first country in the world to recognize that nature has rights. In 2008, the country declared that nature has, quote, the right to exist, persist, maintain, and regenerate its vital cycles, rather than viewing it strictly as property. Egypt. Ancient Egypt may be one of the most well-known and studied civilizations on the planet, but you also owe much of your personal hygiene to this historic civilization. Deodorant, the toothbrush, and toothpaste were all invented in ancient Egypt, much to the relief of modern-day people on public transportation everywhere. El Salvador. In 2021, El Salvador became the first country to declare Bitcoin an official currency. This means that it can theoretically be used as legal tender everywhere, in addition to the existing currency of the US dollar. However, this hasn't always translated in practice, as not every store is set up for Bitcoin transactions. You should still have dollars when you visit. Equatorial Guinea. Less of a fun fact and more of a depressing reality, Equatorial Guinea has been ruled by President Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo since 1979, making him the longest-serving ruler in the world outside of monarchs. In 2024, he won re-election with 94.9% of the vote for a sixth term, after security forces had arrested opposition leaders. Eritrea. Eritrea has a long history of women going into battle alongside men. The first records of women in combat date back to the 7th century BC. During the resistance to Italian colonization and Ethiopian occupation, women were an important part of the war effort. 30% of the fighters during the Eritrean War of Independence were women. Estonia. Bookworms should look into Estonian citizenship, as the country leads the world in most books per capita. The average Estonian has 218 books to their name, and 35% of the country owns at least 350 books. 13% of people there have over 500 books. Eswatini. The longest-serving monarch in history is not Queen Elizabeth II, but rather King Sobhuza II of Eswatini. He ruled from 1899 to 1982, a total of 82 years and 254 days. Though he didn't officially ascend the throne until he was 22 in 1921, his father died when he was a baby, making him king with his grandmother serving as regent until he could be toilet-trained, learn to speak, and finish college. Ethiopia. Ethiopia has a completely different concept of time than most other countries. They have 13 months, with 12 months of 30 days each and an extra 5 or 6 days called Pugume, designated as a 13th month, and lag a little in terms of year. So, if you want to return to the year 2000, go to Ethiopia. They also start their clocks at dawn, so they use a 12-hour clock starting at what the rest of the world considers 6 a.m. and ending at 6 p.m. Fiji. Most people recommend wearing hats in sunny locations, but you may want to avoid doing so in Fiji. When you visit villages, wearing a hat can be a sign of disrespect. Traditionally, only the village chiefs are allowed to wear hats, so your backwards Yankees cap is actually offending people here, for many reasons. Finland. Finland is rising. We don't mean metaphorically. The actual land of Finland is rising. It's because of the slowest rebound of all time, 0.3 to 0.35 inches or 8 to 9 millimeters a year, or as fast as fingernails grow, after a 1,000-year-old glacier retreat across the land. But that still adds around 200 football fields of land to Finland every year. France. France is serious about cracking down on food waste. And who would want to throw out French food anyway? In 2016, the country passed a law making grocery stores donate still edible food to NGOs and charities instead of throwing it away, formalizing a process of prevention, recovery, and recycling. Gabon. The capital of Gabon was founded by freed slaves in 1848. The French Navy captured a Brazilian ship, Leticia, carrying enslaved people near Angola and freed them in Gabon. They then established Libreville, Freetown on the coast. It became the administrative capital of the area under French colonial rule and the largest city in Gabon post-independence. The Gambia. In Gambia, there is a surefire cure for fertility problems. Just bathe in the waters of Kachikali. One catch, the full name is the Kachikali Sacred Crocodile Pond. Women come in groups, bathe one at a time in an open concrete hut, and upon leaving are urged not to cheat on their spouses. If they do all of the above, they're supposed to conceive within the year. Georgia. People may associate fine wines with California, France, and Italy, but the first evidence of wine production was discovered 20 miles south of Tbilisi in Georgia, dating back to 6000 BC. The wine was stored in vessels called kuvevri. Some archaeologists think it was first created by accident, when wild yeast fermented the grapes that Georgians were storing underground for the winter. Germany. Germany has the distinction of being the only country in the world with no speed limit at all on some roads, mainly sections of the Autobahn. Though you may see an 80-mile-an-hour or 130-kilometer-an-hour sign, sometimes that's more of a guideline than an actual rule. However, be careful, because some sections of the Autobahn still have a max speed limit, especially the parts close to cities. Ghana. Dead people are sent off in style in Ghana, in fantasy coffins. Known as Abebu Adekai in Ghana, which translates to proverb boxes, they are colorful and intricately designed, meant to capture some part of the deceased's personality or essence. The carpenters who make them are highly skilled. Whether you want to be buried in a shoe, a cocoa pod, or a fish, they can fix it up. Greece. The world's oldest known computer wasn't made in Silicon Valley. It was created in Greece. The Antikythera mechanism, found in a shipwreck off the Greek coast, is a 2,000-year-old machine with multiple gears, widely regarded as the world's first computer. It was used to predict celestial movements. Grenada. If you like to cook with spices, you can thank Grenada for that. It's known as the Island of Spice, thanks to its impressive spice production of nutmeg, cinnamon, ginger, cloves, allspice, bay leaves, and turmeric. Nutmeg is so important, in fact, that not only does Grenada produce 20% of the world's entire crop, but the spice is even on the national flag. Guatemala. Guatemalans have a very interesting form of public transportation. Old American school buses, known as chicken buses. School buses that are at least 10 years old and or have more than 150,000 miles or 240,000 kilometers on them are auctioned off, some driven down to Guatemala. Then they're refurbished with a lot of colorful bells and whistles, and put in circulation connecting different cities and provinces. More Guatemalans ride chicken buses than own a car. Guinea. Guinea is known as a geological miracle because of its rich variety of mineral resources. It has huge bauxite reserves, 2/3 of all international reserves. It also has vast reserves of iron, gold, copper, diamonds, nickel, and cobalt. Despite that, Guinea remains one of the poorest countries in the world, with a GDP per capita of around $1,500 in 2023. Guinea-Bissau. In Guinea-Bissau, just off the coast, is a network of around 90 islands called the Bisagos, run almost entirely by women. In these matriarchal societies, women are not only political, financial, and spiritual leaders, but also homeowners. The women here choose their husbands, and are even the ones to propose. Guyana. Guyana is known as the land of the giants. Its lush rainforests and lively rivers are home to thousands of species of flora and fauna, many of them incredibly large land and sea creatures. That includes the jaguars, arapaima, freshwater fish, capybaras, giant anteaters, and the world's largest lily, Victoria amazonica. Haiti. The world's only successful slave revolt took place in Haiti between 1791 and 1804. Led by Toussaint Louverture, enslaved people in Haiti rose up against colonists, British and French armies, and eventually won their independence from France. Thus, Haiti also became the first country founded by former enslaved people. Honduras. Everyone knows most Latin American countries are obsessed with soccer, but did you know that Honduras is so obsessed it fought a war over it? In 1969, El Salvador knocked Honduras out of the running for the 1970 World Cup. 3 weeks later, a 4-day war called the Football War started. Thousands of people would die on each side. Though there were underlying issues, economic, immigration, and land disputes, that final soccer match pushed things over the edge. Hungary. Even Hungarians will tell you their language is quite difficult to learn. The fact that their alphabet has 44 letters, unlike the 26 found in the Latin alphabet, may make things even more complicated. It includes several different types of O's and U's, with different diacritics meant to enrage students around the world. Iceland. Iceland is a magical place, but to the locals, it's actually a magical place, as in 54% of them believe in elves, or as they call them, huldufolk, or hidden people. Strangely, this belief has protected Iceland's natural wonders more than any magical creatures could. Since the 1930s, activists have blocked construction projects to stop them from destroying elvish habitats. India. Famous gatherings like Carnaval in Rio de Janeiro may make headlines, but it's actually not the biggest gathering in the world. Perhaps Mecca? Nope. The largest gathering in the world is the Maha Kumbh Mela Festival, held every 12 years in one of 4 places. About 400 million Hindu pilgrims make their way to the 45-day festival. In comparison, Mecca sees about 2 million pilgrims a year. Indonesia. If you like to avoid lava, Indonesia may not be the place for you. It's the volcano capital of the world, with 130 active volcanoes thanks to its location on the Pacific Ring of Fire. The most active by far is Mount Merapi, which has erupted over 30 times in the past 1,000 years. The Islamic Republic of Iran. It's currently, let me check my watch here, the year 1403 in Iran. No, they're not stuck in a time warp, they just use the Iranian calendar. It's called the Solar Hijri calendar, and it revolves around the solar year. So the first 3 months are in spring, and the last 3 are in winter. The reason it's still in 1403 is because it starts from Muhammad's hijra, his migration from Mecca. Iraq. If you paid attention in high school, you might remember that Iraq is home to the oldest writing system in the world, known as cuneiform. It makes sense since the country is also home to the oldest civilization, Mesopotamia. Sumerian scribes developed the writing system in 3200 BC and inscribed it on clay tablets. Ireland. Many people think Halloween got its start in Central America with the Dia de los Muertos celebration. However, Halloween actually got its start in Ireland. The Gaelic festival Samhain, a New Year's celebration, was celebrated from the night of October 31st to November 1st, starting over 2,000 years ago. People wore costumes for it, believing it would protect them against evil spirits. Israel. Israel is the country with the most museums per capita in the world, partly due to the ancient civilizations that thrived there. It's also partly due to its importance as a religious center for multiple major world religions. The most famous may be the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, a huge museum prominently featuring the Dead Sea Scrolls. Italy. There are over 1,200 UNESCO World Heritage Sites internationally, and Italy has 60 of them as of 2024, making it the country with, by far, the most. The most recently added was the 497-mile or 800-kilometer-long Via Appia, a historically important road first built by the ancient Romans. Jamaica. Jamaica may have a laid-back reputation, but it's also the fastest country in the world. This small Caribbean nation of 2.8 million people absolutely dominates in short-distance running, producing some of the fastest runners. This includes Usain Bolt, as well as the female running trio of Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, Sharika Jackson, and Elaine Thompson-Herah, who have won 19 medals between them. Japan. Japan is both high-tech and incredibly old. In fact, the oldest company in the world is found there, headquartered in Osaka. Japanese construction company Kongo Gumi has been in operation building and maintaining Buddhist temples since 578 AD. It had been working for over 1,400 straight years until it became part of another company in 2006. Jordan. The lowest point on Earth, the Dead Sea, is found in Jordan. This inland sea is 1,378 feet, or about 420 meters, below sea level. Tourists flock here to float in the incredibly salty, 30% saline content waters, and bathe in both water and mud from the sea for its healing properties. Just avoid swimming there with any open cuts. Kazakhstan. No, Kazakhstan is not the home of Borat, because he's fictional, but it is home of the Baikonur Cosmodrome. It's the largest operational space launch facility in the world. It's also the first space launch facility, built in 1955, used for notable Soviet missions like Yuri Gagarin's launch into space in 1961, which made him the first human to orbit Earth. Kenya. Kenya is home to the Kalenjin people, nicknamed the running tribe, which produces a disproportionate amount of marathon runners. The 11 Kalenjin tribes make up less than 0.1% of the global population, but have collectively won 50 Olympic gold medals in running and 40% of all international running championships since 1980. It may be because the Kalenjin run to school every day in high altitudes. Kiribati. And yes, that is how it's pronounced. If you ever wonder where the day starts, the answer is Kiribati. Since it's just west of the international dateline, Kiribati is the first country to experience each new day. Thanks to its position by the dateline and the equator, it's also the only contiguous country in the world to reside in all 4 hemispheres. Kuwait. Kuwait has the highest value currency in the world, the Kuwaiti dinar. Each dinar is worth $3.25. The currency is strong because Kuwait is an oil-rich country that's also the 4th richest country in the world per capita, with sound financial policies, no debt, and a budget surplus. Kyrgyzstan. This Central Asian country is famous for kumis, a fermented horse milk. Kyrgyz people have traditionally drunk it for centuries for its health benefits and medicinal properties. It has an alcohol content of between 0.7% to 2.5%, less than half of an average beer, so you likely won't get drunk off of it. But many report that the taste is unpleasant. Laos. Laos is a stunning country with magnificent temples and beautiful landscapes. However, it's also the most bombed country in the world. Unfortunately for Laos, it was right next to Vietnam during the Vietnam War, leading to over 2 million tons or 1.8 billion kilograms of bombs dropped on Laos between 1964 and 1973. More than all the bombs dropped on Europe during World War II. Latvia. The world's first decorated Christmas tree was displayed in Riga, Latvia. Though Christmas trees were present in Germany before that, the decoration of trees started in 1510, when a local Latvian merchants guild put artificial flowers on a tree in the marketplace. They then danced around it, and then, in a part of the tradition unfortunately lost to time, set the tree on fire. Lebanon. Lebanese culture was always recognized for its hospitality, and nowhere is this more evident than in the fact that it hosts the most refugees per capita in the world. The majority of them these days are Syrian refugees, but Palestinian and other refugees also now call Lebanon home. At last estimate, 25% of the Lebanese population, around 1.5 million people, are refugees. Lesotho. Known as the Kingdom in the Sky, Lesotho is the only country to wholly sit above 3,200 feet or 975 meters in elevation. Maybe that's why Business Insider described the dizzying takeoff from the country's cliffside airport as, quote, when a bird is pushed out of the nest in order to learn to fly, which might also explain the relatively low amount of tourism in Lesotho. Liberia. The American Colonization Society founded Liberia in 1821 as a home for formerly enslaved people, leading 12,000 black people released from slavery in the U.S. to settle there by 1861. The country gained independence in 1847 and elected an African-American president. Libya. Libya is a little bit oil and a whole lot of desert. In fact, over 90% of the country is part of the Sahara Desert. That means there are parts of Libya that have not experienced rain in over 25 years. If you're gonna visit, remember to hydrate. Liechtenstein. Once a year on August 15th, known as National Day, Liechtenstein's ruler, His Serene Highness Prince Hans Adam II, invites people to grab a drink with him at his garden party in Vaduz Castle and celebrate. And by people, we mean all of Liechtenstein. Considering the country only has just over 39,800 residents, we're sure the castle gardens can accommodate them. Lithuania. There's something intriguing inside Lithuania, another country. The tiny republic of Užupis is just 0.4 square miles or a single square kilometer in size, but still has a president, government, constitution, currency, and a couple of boats for a navy. It started as an April Fool's joke on April 1st, 1997, when a group of Vilnius creatives declared their neighborhood independent. But then they formalized the joke, and Užupis is now a source of pride for Lithuania. The constitution includes the lines, "Everyone has the right to die, but this is not an obligation," and "Everyone has the right to understand nothing." Luxembourg. Luxembourg was the first country in the world to offer free public transportation for everyone in the country, and it's still only one of a handful that does so. Need to take a tram, train, or bus? Entirely free. The fact that Luxembourg has one of the highest GDP per capita in the world probably helps in providing this service. Madagascar. The island of Madagascar broke off from the rest of Africa around 165 million years ago, meaning its flora and fauna evolved completely differently than their neighbors on the mainland. So, of the 250,000 species found on the island, a full 70% are found nowhere else in the world. Malawi. Malawi has a fish version of the Galapagos Islands. Lake Malawi, the fourth largest lake by volume in the world, it covers 20% of the country, has hundreds of endemic freshwater fish species that are found nowhere else in the world. Most famous are the multicolored cichlids. Malaysia. In Borneo, Malaysia, you will find the largest flower in the world, known as Rafflesia. But don't try sending one to your partner. Not only can it grow to over 3 feet, nearly a meter across, and 24 pounds or 11 kilograms, it's also known as the corpse flower because it emits a smell similar to rotting meat when it finally blooms, so flies can feast on it. Not the most romantic bouquet to give someone. The Maldives. The Maldives is the lowest country in the world, reaching only 8 feet or 2.5 meters above sea level at its highest point. While this is great news for tourists who hate walking up inclines, it's not great news for locals dealing with rising sea levels. In 2009, President Mohamed Nasheed actually held an underwater cabinet meeting to call attention to the urgent sea level crisis in the country. And if the issue isn't addressed, that will be all future cabinet meetings. Mali. Move aside, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. The richest man who ever lived was Mansa Musa, former resident of Mali. Mansa Musa ruled the Mali Empire between 1280 and 1337 as the king of Timbuktu. The area had massive salt and gold deposits. Mali once held half the world's gold supply, making Mansa Musa the wealthiest man alive, with a fortune of $400 billion. But Mansa Musa was renowned for his generosity. He gave away so much gold on his pilgrimage to Mecca, it may have actually altered Egypt's economy. Malta. An ancient society thrived on Malta for 1,500 years, and then 4,000 years ago, they disappeared. Today, you can see some of the megalithic temples they left behind, like Gantia, Hajar Im, and the Hippogeum of Halsaflini. Archaeologists believe that a combination of droughts, Malta has no permanent rivers, and a big climate event like a nearby volcanic eruption ended human settlement in Malta altogether. Well, for a while at least. Marshall Islands. The fun-sounding Bikini Atoll hides a dark history. The US used Bikini, as well as the atolls of Rongelap, Utrecht, and Inuiatak in the Marshall Islands, as nuclear testing grounds between 1946 and 1958. They detonated the equivalent of 7,000 Hiroshima bombs during this period. US Navy officials did ask people to leave for the good of mankind and to end all wars, but the Marshallese were still close enough to experience fallout. Rates of cancer, miscarriages, and stillbirths skyrocketed in the local population after these tests. Mauritania. Mauritania has one of the longest and heaviest trains in the world, and it has become a strange, rather niche tourist attraction. The 1.8-mile or 3-kilometer long train has 200 to 300 carriages and travels 437 miles or about 700 kilometers from the mining town of Zouarat to Nouadhibou port and back. And now, in addition to iron ore, tourists are on it. Don't imagine some lavish Orient Express-like tour. You either ride in a rusted passenger wagon, or as many people do, in the carriages carrying or waiting to carry the iron ore itself. Mauritius. One of the most famous extinct species of all time, the dodo bird, called Mauritius home. The dodo bird developed to be large, flightless, and relatively defenseless against predators because there weren't really any around. However, when sailors started settling Mauritius, they killed it for its meat. In just a century, by 1662 to 1681, the bird was completely extinct. However, Mauritius still honors it by nicknaming their football team after this slow, defenseless bird. We imagine opposing teams aren't too scared to play the Mauritius dodos. Micronesia. The Micronesian island of Yap has a unique form of currency, massive stones named Rai. Though islanders use the US dollar, big purchases from well-off families like land or dowry payments are often made with huge stone discs. These discs never change hands. They're set up all over the island, including in stone money banks. And when a transaction happens, word spreads that they now belong to someone else. Weirdest of all, they were quarried 300 miles away in Palau and carried back on a canoe. Moldova. The relatively poor Eastern European country of Moldova has, surprisingly, the largest collection of wine in the world. The underground tunnels of Milesh Dimic hold 2 million bottles. Moldova has a historic winemaking tradition dating back 5,000 years, and you'll find multiple collections throughout the country. Monaco. Though Monaco is best known for its world-famous casino, gambling is actually banned for the citizens of Monaco. It's one thing to extract money from tourists, it's another to create a nation of gambling addicts. Most locals don't mind though, because living in Monaco, they get to pay no income or property tax. Perhaps that's why a third of the population is made up of millionaires. Mongolia. Mongolia has the highest percentage of nomadic people of any country in the world. Around 40% of the population is nomadic, compared to 3% of the total global population. They live in yurts in the Mongolian country, particularly in the steppes, and quickly deconstruct and construct them elsewhere when they need to move. Montenegro. Another eco-friendly country on our list. Montenegro was the first country to declare itself an ecological state in 1991 by passing a declaration and amending its constitution in 1992. The country now includes environmental protection as a vital aspect of its constitution and has pledged to prioritize the preservation and sustainability of its ecosystems. Morocco. Fez is home to the oldest university in the world as recognized by Guinness World Records. Al-Qarawiyyin, an Arab woman named Fatima al-Firi, established it all the way back in 859 AD, and it flourished during the Islamic Golden Age. Morocco incorporated it into its state university system in 1963, just a millennium and change after its founding. Mozambique. Mozambique has the only flag with a modern weapon on it, an AK-47 to be specific. A handful of other countries have muskets, swords, or spears, but Mozambique has a pretty high-powered gun along with a book and a hoe. They symbolize defense, education, and agriculture respectively. Myanmar. Women and children, and sometimes men, have a very special makeup and skincare routine in Myanmar called thanaka. They apply dried out bark and roots of the thanaka tree made into a paste on their face for both cosmetic and health reasons. It's supposed to protect the skin from sunlight, improve acne, and just make skin healthier overall. You'll see it as a light yellow paste on people's cheeks, forehead, and/or their nose. Namibia. One of the coolest sights in Namibia is a specific stretch where the desert meets the sea, known as the Skeleton Coast. Hazardous conditions off the coast here, including thick fog, strong winds, and heavy swells, have led to an unbelievable amount of shipwrecks. Over 1,000 rusted ships can be spotted on the desert along the coast, dragged in by sand over time. Nauru. For a brief period in the 1970s and part of the 80s, Nauru was the richest country in the world thanks to its huge phosphate reserves. However, the reserves were ruthlessly strip-mined for years and eventually exhausted. This led income and the general quality of life on the island to drastically plummet. Nepal. Nepal holds an interesting distinction. It's the country with the highest number of public holidays in the world, 39 to be exact. Because both Buddhists and Hindus live in Nepal, multiple religious holidays and festivals are celebrated. However, don't pack your bags just yet. The country also has a 6-day work week, so the extra time off sort of evens out. The Netherlands. Losing money in the stock market? Direct your complaints to the Netherlands. It turns out the first people to come up with the concept of shares and stocks in general were the Dutch. When the Dutch East India Company was founded in 1602, they had the idea to finance their fleet by issuing bonds in the form of company stock. New Zealand. In addition to being the filming location of the Lord of the Rings movies, New Zealand has a lot more to be proud of. It was the first country in the world to give all women the right to vote, way back in 1893. US women wouldn't get universal suffrage until 1920. Nicaragua. There are almost no operating newspapers left in Nicaragua. Independent outlets have been chased out by the dictatorial government. Journalists and editors are often detained. In 2021, police stormed the offices of La Prensa after a century of operation. Though the newspaper only operates digitally from other countries now, its print edition back then printed one great last headline: "The dictatorship can't hide the truth." Niger. Niger has the youngest population in the world, with a median age of 15 years. That means half the population is under 15, and the other half is over 15. Not coincidentally, it also has the highest fertility rate in the world, with an average of 6.6 births per woman in 2024. Nigeria. Right behind Bollywood, the Nigerian film industry, appropriately named Nollywood, is the second largest film producer in the world. Though it works with smaller budgets than both Hollywood and Bollywood, Nigeria produces around 2,500 films a year. In comparison, Hollywood only puts out 300 to 900 a year. North Korea. There's no end to the weird facts we could list about North Korea, so here's one that covers a lot of ground. North Korea has made any influence from South Korea illegal. A law in 2020 made watching South Korean entertainment punishable by death. Police also check for white wedding dresses, considered South Korean, and even go through citizens' phones for use of possible slang from South Korea. North Macedonia. Skopje, North Macedonia, is the birthplace of Mother Teresa, whose given name was Agnes Gonje Boyajiu. Though the charitable nun was mostly associated with her work in Calcutta, she was born and raised in Skopje until she left to join a convent at 18 years old. Norway. Perhaps unsurprisingly for a country buried in snow half the year and reaching up past the Arctic Circle, Norway has won more medals in the Winter Olympics than any other country in the world. It has 405 compared to the US in second place with 330. It also hosted the Winter Olympics twice, in Oslo in 1952 and in Lillehammer in 1994. The Sultanate of Oman. Oman produces the finest and most expensive frankincense worldwide. Yes, turns out frankincense isn't just something in a biblical story. It's a resin used in incense and perfumes. Oman is full of frankincense trees, and you can buy this resin in markets all over the country. Pakistan. A shocking number of people in Pakistan have their birthday on January 1st, at least on official documentation. Many people in Pakistan don't really celebrate birthdays, though that's changing with Western influence, and so many parents never mark the date of a child's birth or even remember it. So 1/1 is just an easy day to pick to note down a person's birth date. Palau. Palau has a huge marine lake on Ely Malk Island, known as Jellyfish Lake. You can swim in jellyfish-filled waters here without fear of being stung, as the jellyfish evolved away from producing poison since they don't need to defend against predators. However, don't dive too deep, because towards the bottom there are toxic levels of hydrogen sulfide, much deadlier than the impotent jellyfish. Panama. If you can't decide whether you want to see a scenic sunrise or sunset over the ocean, head to Panama, where you can see both from the same spot. At the top of Volcan Baru, the highest point in Panama, you can see the sunrise over the Pacific and set over the Atlantic. That might not sound right, but Panama curves, so from Volcan Baru, the Atlantic is actually to the west. Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea is the most linguistically diverse country on Earth. Over 800 languages are spoken throughout the country. That's partly due to the fact that Papua New Guinea's difficult terrain, including tall mountains and dense forests, cut communities off from each other for centuries, leading to the development of hundreds of different languages. Paraguay. The entirely landlocked country of Paraguay has the biggest navy of any landlocked country, with at least 34 vessels. You may be asking, why? Well, the country still has plenty of rivers, and the navy crosses them to get down to the sea through Argentina. Naval ships are used to detect and combat drug trafficking rings in the area. Peru. Potatoes were first discovered in Peru over 10,000 years ago, growing wild on the shores of Lake Titicaca. Even today, there are over 4,000 potato varieties growing throughout the country, ranging from blue to pink to purple and yellow. The Philippines. Most nurses in the world come from the Philippines. In the US alone, 4% of all nursing staff and 33% of all foreign-born nursing staff is Filipino. This weird fact happens due to a combination of reasons. Filipino people tend to have a high level of proficiency in English. Nursing education is generally affordable, and the Filipino government supports nursing training. However, low wages and long hours means they pursue jobs in other countries. Poland. Two of the most renowned names in science history were Polish. Marie Curie, a pioneer in radioactivity, and Nicholas Copernicus, the astronomer who first said the Earth revolved around the sun, were both Polish. Perhaps their ethnicity is a bit more obvious when you hear their birth names: Maria Salomea Skłodowska and Mikołaj Kopernik. Portugal. The oldest bookstore in the world is Livraria Bertrand, in the Chiado neighborhood of Lisbon. It was established in 1732, then became a chain over the years. There are now 59 branches in the country, but the original branch is still operating almost 3 centuries later. Qatar. The world has been moving from rural to urban areas for some time, but Qatar takes the cake in terms of urbanization. 99.2% of the Qatari population lives in cities. In fact, over 80% of residents live in the capital city of Doha alone. Republic of the Congo. If you notice some very well-dressed men and women in the capital of Brazzaville, you may have come across the country's sapeurs. Known as the Society for the Advancement of People of Elegance, sapeurs have been around since the 1920s and believe in dressing in elegant designer suits and fashionable dapper styles. The movement was originally centered on men, but more women and children have been joining. Romania. The Mary Cemetery in Sapanta, Romania, has a different take on death and mourning than most other places. You won't find traditional dark tombstones with stately inscriptions here. The cemetery is filled with bright, colorful tombstones, some of them bearing paintings, and almost all of them including funny poems depicting scenes from the deceased's life. Russia. To the surprise of almost no one, the coldest town in the world is located in Siberia, in the far east of Russia. Oymyakon has average winter temperatures of -50 Fahrenheit or -45 Celsius, and has hit a record low temperature of -90 degrees Fahrenheit in 1933. That's -68 Celsius. It's so cold that some people leave their cars running almost throughout the entire winter, because restarting the engine in such frigid temperatures is nearly impossible. Rwanda. On the last Saturday of every month, Rwanda celebrates the national holiday of Umuganda, but not by drinking or feasting. Rather, from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., people stop what they're doing to take part in community work, mostly cleaning up their surroundings. On the one hand, it's made Rwanda the cleanest country in Africa. On the other hand, it's not exactly voluntary. Police will fine you if you're not helping. St. Kitts and Nevis. Nevis tried to secede in 1998. That's right, for just a couple of hundred votes, we could have been showing you a video on 196 countries right now. As the smaller island of the two, Nevis felt they were marginalized by the administration in St. Kitts. In 1998, they held a referendum on secession. 62% of the island's 12,000 population voted to secede, which fell short of the 2/3 they needed for independence. St. Lucia. St. Lucia is the only country to be named after a historic woman, St. Lucy of Syracuse. The first French settlers gave the island that name when they were shipwrecked there on December 13th, the saint's feast day. So now, St. Lucia is named after the patron saint of, let me check my notes, blindness and eye problems. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. An active volcano sits on St. Vincent. La Soufriere, which rises over 4,000 feet or 1,200 meters into the air, has erupted 5 times since the 1700s. The biggest one in 1902 killed 1,600 people. But if you're worried about an eruption interrupting your tropical vacation, don't worry about it. La Soufriere hasn't erupted since, April 2021. Enjoy! Samoa. Samoa recognizes 4 cultural genders: man, woman, fa'afafine, and fa'afatama. The latter 2 mean, respectively, a man acting in the manner of a woman and a woman acting in the manner of a man. They don't align 100% with Western concepts of gender fluidity, but essentially, they're people who fulfill social and cultural roles of a gender other than the one they were assigned, sometimes dressing as the other gender as well. San Marino. The oldest active written constitution belongs to the country of San Marino. Core documents of the country's constitution were first written in 1600. That's over a century and a half before the US Constitution came into existence. San Marino was also founded with a representative form of government in 301 AD, making San Marino the world's oldest republic. São Tomé and Príncipe. Many countries are overly reliant on one resource, like oil, in their economies. São Tomé and Príncipe has the same problem, as it's almost fully dependent on chocolate. This small African country focuses so much on producing cocoa that it ends up being 95% of its total exports. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia buys sand from Australia. You might wonder why they would need to, considering 95% of the country is desert. However, Saudi Arabian sand is very fine and round, making it hard to use in construction because it won't bind with anything. That's where the hardier Australian sand comes in. Senegal. On every second month of the Islamic calendar, Senegal experiences its own Hajj, or religious pilgrimage. Around 3 million followers of the Murid Brotherhood, under the Sufi branch of Islam, participate in Le Grand Magal de Touba. They journey to the Senegalese city of Touba to celebrate the teachings of their order's founders, Ahmadou Bamba. Participants arrive from dozens of countries across Europe and North America, in addition to African locations. Serbia. Serbian is a Slavic language, but it uses 2 different alphabets. Schools tend to teach in Cyrillic, and Serbs need to learn it anyway because that's what's used on official documents. But they also write in Latin characters, especially helpful when using the internet. Many signs will feature both alphabets, even though they're spelling the same words. Seychelles. The incredibly weird, wavy, sculpted rock formations of the Seychelles are immediately noticeable. That's because the Seychelles are the only mid-ocean granite islands in the world, formed by magma, something that generally requires continental volcanic activity. That's why the Seychelles were used as one of the first pieces of evidence of continental drift. Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is a prime example of more money, more problems. Diamonds were discovered there in the 1930s, leading to exploitation by colonial powers. Eventually, blood diamonds were used to fund the Revolutionary United Front, the RUF, during an over-decade-long civil war, all while the nation remained in poverty. However, the situation has improved today, and the government has tried to regulate the production and mining of diamonds to be more ethical. Singapore. Singapore, which is a city and country all at once, is nicknamed Fine City. You may think that's a reflection of how beautiful and clean it is, which it is, but it's actually because of all the behaviors that can result in a fine. These include selling or chewing gum, flying a kite, walking naked inside of your house if you can be seen from outside, and forgetting to flush your toilet. Slovakia. There's only one horologe in the world that shows accurate solar time for the location it's in, rather than an average time. And that's the horologe in Stara Bystrica, Slovakia. This astronomical clock also shows the position and phases of the moon, and the position of the sun in the zodiac. Slovenia. Slovenians love bees. While most of the rest of the country generally tries to avoid them, Slovenians recognize how important bees are for agriculture and the ecosystem at large. Perhaps that's why 1 in 200 Slovenes keeps and/or tends to bees. The Solomon Islands. Only 1 to 2% of the people on Solomon Islands can fluently speak the country's official language of English. Instead, there are over 70 other languages spoken, mainly influenced by English, including the de facto lingua franca of the country, Solomon's Pidgin, and English Creole. Somalia. A huge chunk of southern Somalia, known as Somaliland, declared independence in 1991 and operates mostly autonomously. Though it hasn't been officially internationally recognized, it's much more open to foreigners than Somalia, and overall considered safer and more stable. South Africa. South Africa is the only country in the world with 3 capitals. Pretoria is the executive capital, Bloemfontein is the judicial capital, and Cape Town is the legislative capital. But none of them are the country's biggest city. That would be Johannesburg. The capitals were established in 1910 when the Union of South Africa was formed, to prevent any one region from dominating the others in importance. South Korea. Half of the 51.3 million person population in South Korea has only 3 last names. You might think Hollywood was being lazy by giving Korean characters the last names of Kim, Lee, or Park, but it turns out those are the last names for 50% of all South Korean people. South Sudan. The newest country in the world, South Sudan was established in 2011. It was the result of a long and bloody civil war in Sudan between government forces and the southern rebels represented mostly by the Sudan People's Liberation Army. 98.8% of southern Sudanese voted for independence on July 9, 2011. Unfortunately, violence and civil strife continues to plague both Sudan and South Sudan. Spain. Spain? It's in the wrong time zone. When the dictator Francisco Franco ruled the country in the mid-20th century, he changed Spain's time zone from GMT to GMT+1 in 1940. Why? Well, because he wanted to be closer to his pal, Hitler. While Spain theoretically stayed neutral, Franco collaborated with Nazi Germany, and so wanted to be in the same time zone with his friends, Germany and Italy. Sri Lanka. The oldest human-planted tree in the world exists in Sri Lanka. In 288 BC, a tree was planted in Mahamahuna Gardens. It was a sapling of the tree the Buddha sat under to achieve enlightenment. That sapling still exists today, though it has grown into a majestic tree known as the Jayashri Mahabodhi, a Bo tree. Sudan. Sudan has twice as many pyramids as Egypt. Though Egypt's pyramids are more well-known internationally, Sudan has 200 pyramids within its borders, many built along the Nile, mostly constructed by the ancient kingdom of Kush. As in Egypt, they were mostly used as tombs for kings, queens, and wealthy citizens. Suriname. Suriname has the highest percentage of forest cover of any country in the world. 93% of the country is covered in forest, mostly rainforest. The sheer amount of trees actually make it a carbon-negative country, as the trees absorb more greenhouse gases from the atmosphere than Suriname as a whole emits. Sweden. While other countries decorate their subway systems with graffiti and rats, Stockholm's metro system has been called the world's longest art exhibition. The 68-mile, 110-kilometer-long metro system has 100 stations, and 90 of them have been decorated by dozens of artists, each with a different theme. Switzerland. Switzerland has been proclaimed the most innovative country in the world for 14 years in a row as of 2024. The country's strong university industry research collaboration, relatively affordable prestige universities, and government-backed innovation agency, InnoSuisse, make it clear that Switzerland values research development and STEM in general. Syria. One of the oldest civilizations in the world, the Sumerians, lived in Syria thousands of years ago. Perhaps that's why Damascus is widely accepted as the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world, founded in 3000 BC. Though Jericho is an older settlement, it wasn't established as a city until much later. Tajikistan. The high-altitude country of Tajikistan has over 8,000 glaciers, a significant source of drinking water and hydroelectric power. The biggest one is called Fedchenko Glacier. At 48 miles or 77 kilometers long, it's the longest glacier outside of the polar caps. Tanzania. The world's largest caldera and one of the best wildlife spotting destinations on Earth is located in Tanzania. The Ngorongoro crater formed 2.5 million years ago and has an area of 102 square miles or 264 square kilometers today. It's recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site for good reason. Thailand. Most Thai men become monks temporarily. You know how some countries have mandatory military service? Well, many young Thai men enter a Buddhist monastery for a period ranging from a few weeks to a few months, a practice known as temporary ordination. They shave their hair, don orange robes, and spend time learning about Buddhist teachings in order to create merit for their family. Timor-Leste. The waters off Timor-Leste are the most biodiverse in the world. In the 2010s, scientists from Conservation International examined 10 sites around the country's Atauro Island. They found a total of 643 species, many of which were completely unknown prior to that survey. Each individual site had an average of 253 reef fish species. The previous record was 216 species. Togo. Though many people in African countries converted to Islam or Christianity due to Arab and European influence, Togo is a bit of a holdout. Over 1/3 of the population continues to practice indigenous African religions, including ancestral worship and voodoo. Only 29% of the country is Christian and 20% is Muslim. Tonga. According to the World Health Organization, Tonga is the most obese country in the world. Over 71% of adults in its 106,000 total population are classified as obese. Scientists believe Pacific Islanders' genetic predisposition towards weight gain, coupled with rapidly shifting and increasingly processed diets, are behind the health crisis. Trinidad and Tobago. This Caribbean country grows some of the spiciest peppers in the world. The eye-watering Trinidad Moruga Scorpion and Trinidad Scorpion Butch Tea scored over 2 million and 1.4 million on the Scoville scale. That means the Scorpion is about 240 times hotter than a jalapeno. Maybe have a glass of water or milk with you when trying the local cuisine. Tunisia. Tunisia was the home of ancient Carthage, a Phoenician city-state known as one of the richest cities in the classical world with one of the most powerful navies at the time. It flourished until its rivalry with Rome led to the Punic Wars, and Rome destroyed Carthage in 146 BC. Turkey. The first coin in the world was minted in the Anatolian kingdom of Lydia around 600 BC. Though at the time it was connected to the Greeks, the site of the first coin lies in the country of Turkey. They were rougher and less perfectly shaped than the coins we use today, but made of pure gold and silver with a royal symbol on them to prove their authenticity. Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan has been under a very weird dictatorship for a few decades now. This results in many strange laws, but one notable one is the ban on black or dirty cars. In 2018, President Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov decided that to complement his capital, the City of White Marble, he only wanted spotless cars painted either white or silver. Owners of black vehicles had to repaint or give them up, and everyone entering the city runs their car through a car wash first. Tuvalu. In the beginning of the 21st century, Tuvalu had a brilliant business idea. At the dawn of the internet, it was assigned the country code top-level domain .tv. Tuvalu quickly realized it could use this stroke of luck to license its domain to entertainment companies who want to use .tv on their websites. Now, the island nation earns a 1/12 of its national income from this license. Uganda. The Nile River begins in Uganda. Near the town of Jinja, on the north shore of Lake Victoria, the White Nile River starts and then winds its way northwards, eventually joining up with the smaller Blue Nile River, which originates in Ethiopia, all to create the one and only Nile. Ukraine. UNESCO recognizes Ukraine as the country with the most folk songs in the world. 15,500 songs are recognized by UNESCO, while local sources claim up to 200,000 exist. Though you may think you don't know any, Ukrainian melodies have formed the basis for many famous songs. George Gershwin based his own Summertime on the Ukrainian lullaby, "Oh, Sleep Walks by the Windows." United Arab Emirates. Around 88.5% of the population of the United Arab Emirates is made up of expats from over 200 nationalities around the world. The wealthy cities of Dubai and Abu Dhabi in particular have attracted workers and wealth from all over the world. The United Kingdom. You will find the world's longest-running theatrical show in London. Written by famed mystery novelist Dame Agatha Christie, The Mousetrap premiered in the city's famous West End district in 1952 at St. Martin's Theatre. Though it has moved to a different West End venue, it's still running today, making it over 70 years old. So if you haven't gotten tickets yet, you probably still have a lot of time. United States of America. The US remains the only country to have its citizens walk on the moon. The country sent several Apollo missions to the moon between 1969 and 1972, carrying 12 different Americans, the first of which were Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. However, NASA eventually stopped the programs because of the high cost. Uruguay. Uruguay launched a program in 2007 to 2009 called Plan Ceibal. The aim was to give one laptop to every child in the country attending 1st through 6th grades. In what became known as the One Laptop Per Child project, the state provided free laptops and Wi-Fi access to school children to ensure they were connected to the internet. Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan was the heart of the ancient Silk Road. The famous trading route weaved its way from Xi'an, China to destinations in Europe and the Middle East. But the greatest crossroads and bazaars were found in Uzbekistan. 4 out of 7 current UNESCO sites in Uzbekistan, the city of Samarkand, Ichan Kala Fortress, Bukhara, and Shahrazabs, are Silk Road sites. Vanuatu. The people of Vanuatu are adrenaline junkies, because this is where bungee jumping started. First practiced on Pentecost Island in this Pacific nation, it was called land diving, a rite of passage for young boys. Boys between 7 to 10 years old tie vines around their ankles and jump from tall wooden towers. Clearly, there's no helicopter parenting in Vanuatu. Vatican City. Vatican City holds a lot of distinctions. At 0.17 square miles, or just under half a square kilometer, it's by far the smallest country in the world. And for obvious reasons, it's also the only country with a birth rate of 0. Venezuela. Lightning does, in fact, strike in the same place twice. In fact, in one part of Venezuela, lightning hits multiple times almost every single night, or 1.6 million times per year. The phenomenon occurs where cold air from the mountains meets warm air from the Caribbean, over the Catatumbo River flowing into Lake Maracaibo. It's known as Relámpago del Catatumbo, Catatumbo lightning, or the everlasting storm, and takes place around 300 nights a year. Vietnam. Vietnam is home to the largest cave in the world, which was only discovered in 1991. Son Doong Cave is located in Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park and is so big it has its own ecosystem. The cave is 1.36 billion cubic feet, or 38.5 million cubic meters, and 5.5 miles or 9 kilometers long, making it 5 times larger than the previous largest cave record holder. It has its own rainforests, underground river, and even its own weather patterns. Yemen. The oldest skyscraper city in the world isn't New York or Hong Kong, it's Shibam, Yemen. After it was flooded in 1532-33, Shibam decided to rebuild in a different way, using vertical urban planning. Over 500 residential towers were built out of mud brick, up to 12 stories and almost 100 feet or 30 meters high. Zambia. Victoria Falls is known as the world's largest waterfall when counting by volume of water, over 5,600 feet or 1,700 meters wide and 354 feet or over 100 meters tall. It's a stunning sight that attracts visitors from all over the world, and it's located right on the border of Zambia and the next and final country on our list, Zimbabwe. In addition to being the other half-home of Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe is known for its 8 different currencies. The country was plagued by runaway hyperinflation for years. In an attempt to get it under control, people started using different currencies, including the US dollar, the South African rand, the British pound, the Botswanan pula, the Australian dollar, the Chinese yuan, the Indian rupee, and the Japanese yen. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more videos like this, then please consider subscribing and turn on notifications. It really does make a difference. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time on MathPack.